Now that we've established the mental patterns, let's see how the athletes adjust in the second round. Okay, so right out the gate, we see that CJ applies a similar strategy that he had in round one. High pressure, high action, in this case also high degree of difficulty in the techniques. And interestingly enough, it's Milan who scores with a patient counter off the clinch.
Forward gets a score on the board. The oohs and the ahs from the knowledgeable fans here. Good little shot.
Okay, so Milan is going back to the exact same strategy that worked for him in the first round as well. And look how close these guys are getting. Again, he's in control of the exchange. He's dictating when the action happens. The only subtle difference here is that CJ seems to be setting up the counter attack a little bit better. So maybe that will work for him a little bit better in this round. But he still hasn't gained control of the exchange. So let's see how this plays out. Okay, I'm stopping here again because we've seen yet another approach by CJ. So the first exchange, he was the one initiating. The second one, he sat on the counter. And this third exchange, he's trying to reestablish the rhythm. So Milan pressures him, and CJ tries to reestablish the rhythm with his kicks. The only problem with this strategy is that over time, it's going to be taxing. So if it works, if it scores early, great. If not, CJ spent a lot of energy trying to regain control of the exchange.
Nickolas keeping it calm. Canavas trying to hold the center.
Now we have a fourth approach from CJ. He's introducing more checks and motions in order to, before his shot. The only issue is that he still hasn't solved Milan's control of the exchange. Milan is dictating the distance and therefore when the action happens. Now it's important to note, each of these four approaches that he's come up with were good ideas on their own. The only issue is that they're a bit random and are not really solving the problem at hand. He hasn't regained control of the exchange. And that's what worked for him so well in the first minute of the first round.
Both been getting into a little bit of a fight here. And isn't it funny how the pendulum can switch and change? Good shot from CJ Nickolas.
Okay, this look right here with the quick taps, quick looks, different angles, that's what worked really well for CJ in the first minute of the first round, and it's what scores again here.
Trying to go from body to head, he looks electric quick. It's a little view from the referee's necktie. Taekwondo camera. Emphasis on tie. It's tied scores. Good.
I just want to point out real quick, to Milan's credit, you can see that he has a strong mental game and he's playing the opponent more than the scoreboard, because regardless of the score, regardless of the fact that he's down one round, he's applying the exact same approach.
Attempted from the Spaniard, the left hand slipping down. That's still scored by the judges, but it will eventually be scored by the protector system. Better from Juan Antonio. He's caught in a storm of the CJ skills. At the moment, the Spaniard hanging tough. Business end now. Last 40. How do you like it from Nickolas? Steps out with the...
Again, CJ is using a lot of energy to try and get Milan off of him and control the distance in exchange. And you can see he tries the back kick, which is a good idea, the correct response, but just he's already a little bit fatigued. And that's what allows Milan to just be patient and precise and score off the clinch.
I'm professional. Good step up double from the American. Goes for it again, but step.
Those were two really good attempts by CJ. A bit unlucky they didn't score, but really good reads.
The skill, it's about the concentration. Goes with the jumping hook kick up to the head. CJ Nickolas flies through the...
All right, aside from being a really entertaining kick and a great shot, that's actually a really smart read by CJ, because he's giving Milan a look he hasn't seen the whole match. The real question now is whether or not Milan will be able to increase the pressure without losing his composure. Let's see what happens.
greatest of ease. Touches the ground, but still scores the threes. What a man, what a shot. Canavas, though, has the opportunity.
This is another good read by CJ because he's given Milan basically the same look he gave him a second ago, but this time instead of taking to the face, he's hitting to the body. Really smart.
The jump and chop to the body this time. As we creep towards the last 10 seconds, 7-5. Don't adjust your eyes or the set, as we're all set for Brazil against America. The American is up on his toes. Good shot from Canovas. The yellow line on in favour of the Spaniard. Good.
Amazing comeback from Milan there in the final seconds. He definitely answered the question of whether or not he's able to apply the pressure without losing his composure. And he did it by using the exact same approach he did the entire match. All right, so what did we have this round? Let's start off with Milan this time, actually. So Milan did basically the exact same thing he did in the first round. He managed the distance. He worked off the close range. He was persistent. He was patient. He played the opponent and basically just wore his opponent down. CJ, on the other hand, had 4 different approaches. He started off with trying to dictate the pace and taking the match to Milan. The second thing he did was try to sit on the counter. The third thing he did was use checks and motions to try to disguise his attack. And the fourth thing he did was try to play with the rhythm, looking to reestablish his rhythm after Milan pressured him. But in the end, the things that scored for CJ were the attempts that were most consistent with his fundamental game. So the exchanges that he was able to use, that high action, quick taps, and his creativity were the exchanges that he scored on. The difference this round from the first round was that he wasn't able to get as many of those in or score them as quickly. So if I'm CJ's coach, I want to try to get him to execute as many exchanges as possible from that fundamental approach. And the good news for CJ is he still has a lot of tools at his disposal that he hasn't explored enough. He can use his checks and motions a little bit more. He can use his movement in and out a little bit more or around to buy himself some time to regulate his emotions, regulate his energy, and then come back into the exchange when he's ready to execute from his rhythm, his pace, his identity. His second option would be to apply a lot of pressure early on and try to rack up as many points as possible like he did in the first round. But he would have to stick with it. And if I'm Milan's coach, I'd obviously have him do the exact same thing he's been doing up until now, but be a little bit more cognizant of the pressure. You don't want to leave the round up to chance. And so I'd advise him to try to break away from CJ a little bit earlier in the round. Milan proved that he could do that when he needed to, but better to not have it go down to the wire.